Dr. Goldwag, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. It's great to see you and talk to you face to face this time. We've spoken recently and really enjoyed our conversation. Look forward to our conversation today. I'd love to start just hearing about your background and how did you find yourself in medical school and pursuing a career as a physician.
My father was a family doc. I grew up on the East Coast in a little town in upstate or in Westchester County, New York, called Croton-on-Hudson, and he was a family physician. And he used to take me out on house calls and stuff. So when I was a little kid, there's a picture of me with my father's doctor bag. I probably was about 7 years old, with a tongue depressor. So a lot of people in the family were like, hey, he's destined to be a doctor. But interestingly enough, I was turned off to medicine by my college experience. I went to a pretty high tech college, UC San Diego, very research oriented. I was a science, major, and I always liked science. So I ended up, going there with a undergraduate program in biochemistry. But the people that I disliked the most as an undergraduate were all the pre-meds. So
Okay.
I actually kind of was turned off to medical school, and I guess I had this vision of my father, who was like, the down home family doctor, and I didn't see any of that happening, at UCSD. Now, in retrospect, it was mostly, I guess, because of what UCSD was like. But at the time, as an undergraduate, I said, I don't want to do this. So I did a lot of research, and I came out of medical or undergraduate with a degree in biochemistry, and kind of figured I would end up as a research guy. And I actually went and did some research in a lab. And it just was a timing thing in that when I graduated, the research budgets were getting cut everywhere, and all these people were like bailing out of research, and they were just saying, like, that's the worst place to go. So I really had a kind of a life crisis pretty early on. Even though I was successful in school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And my father never really pushed me to medicine, and he and I were very similar as personalities. So it wasn't that we didn't have a close relationship. It was just I think that was just his, his style was not to say, here's what you need to do, or, he said, just do what you like. And that was, I loved research, but it was like it was not doable. So, so I took a year off. I played music on the street in San Francisco, yeah, and like that turned out not to be a viable career choice. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't like I was gonna, I barely survived. So I was doing that, and I guess I was in the middle of doing that when a friend of mine contacted me, and he said he knew me from college. He was actually one of my college roommates, and he said, "Hey, I've discovered this thing called osteopathic medicine." And he knew that I was really disillusioned with, the kind of cutthroat sort of personalities that both of us really had been around at UCSD. And he said, "Hey, you should come check out the school because they're, more about kind of holistic medicine and more about what family docs do, taking care of the whole family, doing all that stuff." So I actually went down to the school he was at. It was in Pomona at the time, College of Osteopathic Medicine. And he had set up an interview with me with the dean, who, basically told me, listen, you're the kind of guy we want. You have really good grades. You're a science guy. And if you apply, you'll get in. Basically that, yeah. I mean, like, so I didn't, yeah, I had a very different path, everybody else, and particularly different than the cutthroat guys, at college. I mean, there were guys there that were spitting in other guys' science experiments so that they, could get a better grade because it was on a curve. You know, it was like crazy stuff. And so, here's a guy telling me, listen, you're the kind of guy we want. You don't have to do any of that. Just go through the application. Put your application in, and we'll get you in. And so, I basically just kind of went to medical school because it was the next step for me, and it was so easy.
You had a little bit of a journey leading up to it, and took a couple twists and turns, but you found yourself still, it sounds like, still relatively young, going to medical school.
And I took a year off, so I wasn't out of the loop, so to speak. And then, interestingly enough, I ended up not going to the school where the guy said, "I'll get you in." I took another leap, and I did my first year in New England just because it just, again, that's me. I'm at the time, particularly, I was very much kind of, leap first and think later kind of guy. And so I went to the University of New England just because I visited a friend there, and it just seemed like a really cool place. I subsequently ended up back at the school in California, and that's where I graduated from.